So one of the fundamentals of creating a high-touch culture and a seamless service culture are the disciplines as it relates to measuring your progress. So what is a balanced scorecard? It's a living document. It means it's a snapshot of where you are. It's a dashboard. It's based on measurable facts only. It celebrates your success, and it's very focused. Like I said, it's a roadmap to hitting your long-term goals by measuring the effectiveness of your short-term strategy. That's what it means. It means that you're not putting too much of an emphasis in one particular area. Everything can be measured. In employee engagement, you can look at turnover and retention. You can look at how much money, when you're evaluating your general ledger, how much was spent on meaningful recognition. Some properties even put a recognition line in their budget, not a bad idea, to make sure that managers are actually taking the time to reward their team both individually and as a team. Almost all properties have annual reviews, but really in order to dig into the time specificness of improvement month over month and quarter over quarter, it's important to measure changes in performance for each individual employee and the department as a whole at a regular basis. A lot of excuses are made that even for smaller boutique properties, we just don't have a robust reporting system like merits and things of that nature. But at this day and age, user-generated content on social media is providing a lot of these services for free. So as long as you track your changes from one moment to a given next moment, in like TripAdvisor, Yelp, and things of that nature, you can actually see your guest satisfaction scores hidden in that data. And then internally, this is a great opportunity for operators to create their own metrics and their own audits and ways of making sure their staff are executing. This can be anything from looking at your PBX department's internal records of how long it takes to deliver items, to measuring your own comment cards and assigning a point value for certain responses. So looking at these overall larger goals, it's important that everybody in the organization, owners, employees alike, and possibly the guests, understand what the mission and vision is. You need to understand what it is you're selling and why you're passionate about selling it, and then everything underneath kind of supports that mission and vision. We're looking at big numbers here, and they're big numbers that are universally understood in a given industry. And then the next tier is what you're doing individually in departments and even parts of departments. Maybe it's a sales campaign, maybe it's a service campaign, it's your service audit scores. So let's say that across the property, there's an incentive to answer the phone within 3 rings or less, or delivering items within 10 minutes or less. It can be measured, and those things go into the larger goals as well. So really, many departments might even have the same metrics that they're measuring for the same outcome. So once you've established your goals based on your mission and vision, this is tip of the iceberg or tip of the pyramid information. And again, you need to make sure that everybody understands, because this is going to drive the engagement and motivation. Each area needs to add on to the tip of the pyramid by listing highest impact middle ground goals. There are higher rated service standards, like I mentioned, and big cultural pieces that are shared, and they should be common knowledge. And then the department specific metrics should be the most abundant, with understanding from the department that the tip of the pyramid goals will not be achieved without consistently achieving the base departmental goals. How do we communicate measurable achievements effectively? Remember, it's time sensitive and regular communication of data. So we follow the same idea as the mission and vision pyramid. The data will be most abundant at the department level, and then it thins out as it reaches the top, so that the most robust information that tells the most about the direction that you're going, these would be financial figures. There might be 5 facts for every 500 smaller facts that you're generating. You want to put, just like a investor's report, you want to make sure that you put those top 5 indicators right at the top, so that the owners understand that you're clearly on course. And the robust data is used effectively at each level based on what you're trying to achieve, and the level of leadership and the locus of control of the manager looking at all those facts. A effective rooms division executive housekeeper might be looking at 500 observations of cleanliness and working order and things of that nature, but the rooms director discussed with the executive housekeeper maybe those 50 of those key performance indicators that are the most meaningful, and then that director of rooms might communicate to the general manager 5 top facts that's kind of the state of the department. So we talked about bullets. So month-end bullets, it's establishing a universal format of reporting. It makes everyone's job easier, right? So these monthly bullets become part of the budget process as well. So when we start our financial budget process, it's based on the previous year results. And then looking at that, it's a cycle. So we use the budget as a guide. We use last year's result as a guide. And that helps us create our month-end results that again are recorded in our bullets and help us make a robust budget so that we're not sandbagging and we're actually creating measurable goals, both that are challenging but achievable. So you might have an owner's report that has a few details from each area, but the executive committee report has even more information, and then obviously the division head report might have even more information to pull from. The main idea is it's a funneling of facts to get the best possible information to let everyone know where we're standing in regards to our operational goals. In generating these bullet points, this kind of illustrates it more. Depending on how complex your operations are, you might have an owner's report that's generated, but it's based on all of this data that's been gathered. So as we move down, there might be an executive committee that gets a standardized report that has key pieces of information from each of these divisions. So this is why it's imperative that the best information comes from each division, right? So let's say there's 5 bullets that you're going to highlight. There's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Wow, so there's our 50 facts that we're going to communicate to the executive committee, and then ends up at the owner's report. For example, we've broken down the rooms division. So let's say there's a housekeeping department, laundry, guest services, front desk, and PBX, maybe even a business center and a few others depending how large your property is. Let's take the guest services department here, valet, bell services, and concierge. You may have a guest services director that's compiling data from their bell captain, from their doorman, their valet captain, or their chef concierge. And their information goes into their report. Using bullet points to enhance operational performance, positive recognition of true contributions. One of the things that's important is meaningful recognition, not only to individual hourly employees, but to their leaders as well. Using these bullet points ensures that you're actually recognizing people for true contributions and not a blanket understanding of appreciation, which is often less meaningful. You can also readjust your operational platform to produce results. So examples of measurable metrics, let's say financially, and again, these are just examples. Let's say that your goal is 25% earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. That's a big picture thing that maybe your room attendant doesn't quite understand, but they probably will understand the effect of getting your 75% rooms division gross operating profit. And because they're part of the shared balance scorecard, that means that they're not going to feel that the profits are just going in the owner's pockets or whatever their biases may be. They're actually part of the financial success, and they're reaping the rewards because it's a balanced approach to success. Goal. When we're talking about employee engagement, again, let's say that the organizational goal is 55% retention. Well, that might translate to a department head that, I need to improve my turnover to reduce it to 25%. And then looking at what the individual operators can do, completing their employee evaluations on time. You can measure that. Staffing reviews, measure that. Employee opinion surveys. Everything needs to be measured, and if you measure those things and do them, it should have an effect on your departmental turnover, which will have an effect on your organizational retention. With a guest engagement, let's say that your mission is the best stay in Tucson. How are you going to get there? Well, TripAdvisor is an indicator, but in order to keep your TripAdvisor rating, let's say Hacienda del Sol in Tucson, Arizona is at number 3. You need to ensure that internal and external service audits are being conducted so that if that ranking would slip or you get better, you want to continue doing the right things and stop doing the things that are hurting you. What do bullet points look like? Just like that. Here's an example for the owners. Ended the month at a 75.5% profit margin, which was 2% over budget, 8% up to last year for the same month. Pretty concise and makes sense. For the executive committee, there might be even more information on there. They might mention not only that the profit margin, but maybe they'll mention that Seth from housekeeping was promoted from a supervisor to assistant executive housekeeper. Increase quick and efficient check-in scores. That might be something that goes into overall satisfaction that might be shared by the executive committee. That might be one of the pieces going into it that supports a larger goal. Rooms division, let's say they get 5 to 10 bullet points from each operating unit, and then those operating units might get 5 to 10 bullet points based on outstanding employee achievement and specific metrics that would otherwise be of less value as they move up those metrics, which might be, your discards for laundry, whatever it is that you're measuring. Okay, so some best practices moving forward. So it's important that all of the ratios, metrics, key performance indicators, they need to be understandable by the group that they're being set for. So that when you publicly praise your top performers or departments, that everybody feels like they're part of that success and they know how to get to the next level. If a room attendant's being evaluated for both the quality of their inspection scores as well as their cost per occupied room, they need to understand how those two factors influence their overall performance. It's a shared understanding that it's not acceptable just to be a great room attendant and be able to clean rooms well. You have to do it under an allotted amount of time, and all hospitality operations that are successful understand that it's quantity and quality. But there's also the construct of how well they live the core values. So it's not enough just to achieve your goals as they relate to the timeliness for the rooms, which affects the owners, right? That's a financial piece. The quality of the room inspections, which is the service piece to the guests, but also the employee engagement piece. You can turn that into an incentive by ensuring that they play nice in the sandbox and that they're a top performer as it relates to the culture. One final note, everything is measurable. If it's meaningful, it's measurable, and if it's not meaningful, then it's a distraction. One of the nicest things of doing a balanced scorecard is that you're able to you're able to weed out the distractions that are moving you away from the highest impact activities in your organization. That's it for now. Thank you for listening.